Barnet where there is such a strong imperative to have success in the Capita contracts, and how often actually looking at the numbers falls to the citizens for that in their own spare time.
Janet.
Do you want to come up?
So giving evidence. You're reading something. It's all right.
Bob, would you like to get that?
Everyone in Barnet is affected by Capita's administration of the council. Councillors have depended on Capita to tell them how to cut services to save money so that the council maintains a balanced budget. It hasn't worked. The so-called balanced budget is being achieved only by drawing down millions of pounds from the reserves. This leads to more cuts to our once public services, but more profits for Capita. Barnet residents are not told this. Excuse me. What does Capita mean to us? It means a drastically reduced library service, which discriminates against children and the disabled and destroys the sense of community it once provided for people of all ages. It means the library buildings carved up to create rentable spaces that are still empty more than a year later. The loss of separate rooms for young children and study space for older children and teens. Fewer books being stocked. Loss of help that library staff provided to people seeking information in print and online, and assistance in using computers. It means the loss of jobs for many library staff and our consequent loss of their skills and experience. It means a poor educational, cultural, and social environment. This affects all of us. Capita means money that should be spent on providing services for us being wasted by incompetence in providing IT systems that don't do their intended jobs and in building works that are not fit for purpose. It means losing productive work time when systems fail and resources have to be replaced. And it means paying twice for the same job. Capita means fewer pavements being repaired, and those that are using cheaper materials, stretches of black tarmac interspersed between paving stones, destroying the cohesive look of neighborhoods. Residents are not consulted. More evidence that there is no understanding of our community. Capita means lack of scrutiny and lack of implementing safeguards. In planning, applications for permitted development have been wrongly given lawful status because the staff assigned to this task are ignorant of or ignore the guidelines, and no senior staff checks their work. The head of planning admitted to me that mistakes have been made, and the council has told me that it has no mechanism to correct them. I suggest a letter saying we made a mistake. The result of this sloppy work is a negative impact on us and our neighbors. Another example of the destruction of the cohesive look of our neighborhoods and lack of care of or understanding for our community. Capita's sloppy management enabled the £2 million fraud. Yes, Capita repaid the money, but they shouldn't have allowed the embezzlement in the first place. Outsourcing has led councillors who should monitor council finances to be complacent and to shirk their responsibilities. Capita means equivocal, evasive, biased, and even untrue answers to public questions, contravening the rules that council staff are bound to be objective and truthful. It means the delayed release of information about the fraud and of the report on how the fraud occurred. In consequence, we wonder what other frauds might have gone undetected or simply hidden from public view. Advising that reports about a questionable loan should be exempt from public view creates deep concern. Why are the taxpayers, whose money and services are ultimately at risk, not allowed to know who is guaranteeing the loan? Our trust has been abused so badly that it no longer exists. We do not trust Capita to manage the services for which they are responsible efficiently, cost-effectively, or for our benefit. We do not trust them to tell the truth. We do not trust the councillors who continue to support these contracts to act independently of Capita and in the public interest. Thus, we are poorer economically, socially, and politically. For all these reasons, we should kick out Capita.
councils, I thought they always did the right thing. And about planning, I was a victim of planning fraud in 2011, the preparation for Capita period, where Barnet Council had to avoid special measures so that Capita would not reject planning. An offender built an outbuilding on land I co-owned without planning permission or owner consent. She obtained retrospective planning permission to retain through fraud which was facilitated by the senior planning officer assigned to the case. He ignored the umbrella fraud policy deliberately. He showed no due diligence deliberately, and most heinously, he deliberately falsified his report to the planning committee, deceiving them into passing a fraudulent application. It does not get any worse. I have all the evidence, so did Barnet. Prompted by the remark of a trial judge in 2014, we're now in the Capita period, I investigated rigorously and went through all the Barnet complaints procedures. In short, Barnet have covered this up desperately. Notably, the Chief Executive, the Monitoring Officer, the Leader, the Assurance Director and the Resources Director. I have the evidence. Any normal council would have eagerly investigated a planning fraud like this one, with national significance and wide implications, but not here in Barnet. The cover-up protected the offending officer like a baby, attempted to shut me down and refused to clarify the officer's guilt. The monitoring officer even suggested that the officer acted lawfully and correctly in causing a decision to be made by the council. The breaching of safeguards is fine. Fast forward now. An employee of RE Capita breaches 5 key safeguards to steal 2 million. It's put down to incompetence and contract complexity. 5 key safeguards. There may be an issue of safeguard removal by Capita and Barnet together. In my case, the offending officer to facilitate the fraud breached 3 key safeguards, quite deliberately. And of the 8 or so planning safeguards there are to protect residents and ensure a responsible, fair planning system, they are all routinely breached and have been since at least 2011. We have the evidence, and it's everywhere. Complaints to planning, resident testimonies, enforcement statistics, FOI requests, complaints to MPs, leaders' question time data, local campaigners, and physical assault. Planning safeguards are routinely breached deliberately. But why? Easy. Planning safeguards, by their very nature, can lead to delay, extra staffing, extra resources, possible enforcement, litigation. All these things bite into Capita's profits and limit opportunities to advise developers or sell the service outside. If safeguards are bypassed, wrongdoing is not discovered. If wrongdoing is not discovered, it does not have to be dealt with. Simple. It is called turning a blind eye. When services are outsourced, according to Barnet's own risk management framework, safeguards should be firmly in place before the service goes out. With planning, this did not happen. It was as if planning was delivered to Capita in a transit van and the safeguards were pushed off the back. Capita did not replace them, and it defies logic to say that Barnet did not know. Houghton and Cornelius were on the board of RE. Back at base, there was a dedicated, highly paid senior manager for fraud, audit and risk, and a monitoring officer, and others. Residents have complained loudly for years. It seems that Barnet may have allowed or enabled Capita to do this, even though residents, their properties, and the once lovely borough would be harmed. Barnet is now said to be the most overdeveloped part of Western Europe. Hence the cover-up of my case. The senior planning officer had to be protected. He was there from 2011 or before, through to 2018. He has intimate knowledge of what was going on. He has only just left. He was not sacked. He should have been. Other workers have been for offences far less serious. This is serious dereliction of public duty to my mind, and misconduct in public office by those who knew of this or enabled it to happen. I called for resignations not 3 weeks ago. The monitoring officer's best response to that was to glare at me and tell me, "The case is closed." I told him it was not. It is not. It is too important. Worse, Capita must know what Barnet Council have done. And what they have done makes them far worse than Capita. Capita are well known to be greedy, ruthless, useless. Barnet Council is a public service with a constitution underpinned by the Nolan principles and various codes, processes and procedures. So I believe Capita have Barnet over a barrel. Option 2 is the only real option, because to scrap the contract, option 3 could destroy Capita, particularly if it becomes widely known what happened in Barnet. Capita have, I think, demanded to keep the most lucrative services, and Barnet have no choice. Public consultation, my eye. Watch this space. The council will scrabble to keep the contract with Capita alive. There will be no logic or responsibility, only desperation. Who could have known back in 2011 that a bed in a shed in a back garden in Hendon could reveal so much about Capita, Barnet Council, and the treachery of public sector outsourcing? Capita must be eradicated from public service. They have leached millions and poisoned our now paralysed and useless council. I will leave you with a question, because I am a bit thick sometimes. I mean, I thought councils always did the right thing. I can see how bypassing safeguards benefits Capita. I can see how it benefits developers. But how could it possibly benefit anyone at Barnet Council?
Janet.
Excuse me, because I haven't got any notes with me. But what I wanted to talk about was the experience of being at a council meeting. As a resident, and just listening to what is going on. And when I sat there in recent meetings in the Public Policy and Resources Committee, hardly believe my ears. No one seems to know what is going on. Council officers are incredibly reluctant to say anything, to answer any of the public questions that are given to them in any way that is meaningful. And it's just trying to duck the issues the whole time and not explaining anything and thinking that what the residents are asking is irrelevant. They don't matter. And I think that if in true democracy, residents' opinions and members of the public's opinions do matter, and the council has a responsibility to be accountable to them. And it's no good saying, well, you can show your disapproval of what the council are doing if you wait till the next local elections. Because what is happening in the meantime? I have heard one councillor asking if the figures that have been given to them by council officers can now be relied upon because they couldn't be in the past. How can councillors recommend agree to the recommendations the council officers are making if they don't have any means, any simple facts in front of them and figures that they can rely on? I've never heard anything so ludicrous in my whole life. And nobody seems to think that this matters. The council officers don't think it matters at all. I have heard both the internal and external auditors warning the council that they were failing in their financial control. And I have heard councillors assuring everybody not to worry because things will get better. Now, it just beggars belief. And it just seems that council officers, they never look anybody in the face at committee meetings. They're looking extremely shifty as they just hope that everything will go away and things will miraculously get better without them actually taking any responsibility and doing anything. And as John Dix has said before, there seems to be total lack of any kind of management or strategy or forward thinking, all the things that you need to ensure that your finances are properly controlled. And if you haven't got control of your finances, heaven help the services. And just as a last thing, this isn't actually a Capita thing, but if, as a result of all the money going to Capita, services are cut even more, adult social care does not exist in Barnet anymore. There is none. If you are in need of care, you will be assessed. You will have your needs assessed as low as possible, so the council doesn't have to take responsibility for you, and you will have your finances assessed with the hope that you have to pay as much as possible towards your services. And the result is that people are sitting at home with no care. Thank you.